What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm taking out this Multistrada V4 Rally for 2023 from riders in Bridgewater. I've been on holiday for the last 2 weeks. A, do I remember how to ride a bike? And B, will this beat the V4S Multistrada? That's the one I've tested over there in white. I have labelled that the best bike for 2023 so far. In BMW world, that's the GS and this is a GSA. Will this beat that? Hey, let's find out. So starting us off then with the engine in this motorcycle, we do have 1158 cc's. This is Ducati's V4 Gran Turismo engine, producing 170 brake horsepower. These are big numbers for an adventure bike, and 125 newton meters of torque. I do have it in sport mode at the minute, and this engine so far is very peppy, very nice. Straight out the bat, I think sometimes this bike forgets it's a big adventure touring bike, because this engine is so smooth, really nice and powerful as well. Still a little stint on the old motorway, see how it fares, see what the wind protection is like. This quick shifter up and down is super smooth, just blip 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 blips on through. So I'm going to get the cruise control on. The screen is adjustable and it's adjustable one-handed. Literally just push it down. So this is now in the lowest position, and the wind is kind of hitting around my eye level. There's an okay amount of noise on the helmet. Not sure how it's going to pick it up via the mic. Lift it up, 2 fingers, and now the wind's kind of at the tip of my helmet, but it kind of feels like the same amount of wind kind of on the left and right side of my head. So although yes, the wind's gone higher up, it's the kind of wind that's coming around the side that's probably affecting me more. See, when I've got cruise control on, might as well talk about it. Technology side, this has as is the radar, as I mentioned. So you've got radar at the front and the rear, which also gives you blind spot indication, as you can tell there, illuminating orange when there's a car back there. So yes, we've got your standard cruise control, but with the radar it's got adaptive cruise control, so I can set the distance I want from me and the car in front, and it will maintain that distance. If a car cuts in, it will slow me down and then maintain that distance to the new car. It's pretty clever, very handy in cars, and I mean it's just going to be just as handy on bikes, especially on those long distance tours. So like right now, I've put the cruise control at 98 miles an hour. Obviously there's a car in front, the bike isn't going to be able to do 98 miles an hour. I've told it to keep a certain distance between me and that vehicle, so it's keeping me at 62. That vehicle in front has now moved out of the way. Bike's now speeding up. I'm at 70. It's now picked up that car in front, and it's now going to slow the car down to maintain the distance. It's all about the distance. You can adjust the distance from kind of close, middle and far, and that's done by the little jog dial on the left hand side. With your thumb you go into it, there you go, near, middle, far or very far. Click whichever one you want. I've clicked very far, so now it's going to slow the bike down and drop me back from a car in front. And let's say very far is 100 meters. When it gets to 100 meters, it will then maintain that speed. Really clever, really easy to use as well. So if you've never used the adaptive cruise control, it's definitely nothing to be worried about. This bike is super easy and comfortable on the motorways. Like I said, there's a little bit of wind coming on the sides, but easy to do touring. We're almost off this motorway, so let's just carry on talking about the electronics. we do have full LEDs, obviously, come to expect. We do have daytime running lights and the cornering lights as well. Cornering lights is something really kind of needed in nighttime riding on the bikes, if you ask me. If you've never used it, all it is when you start banking it in around a corner, there's normally 3 bulbs and it will turn one bulb one at a time depending on the bank angle, so the lean angle. Tighten the lean, you'll have all 3 bulbs activated. We've got a lovely 6.5-inch TFT screen at the front, which, even better, does have full map navigation via the Ducati Connect app. Something I love to see on bikes, especially bikes like this that is designed for touring, designed for getting out and seeing the world. Saves having your sat nav or your phone mounted somewhere. It's just there. But if you do have your phone mounted, you have got a DIN charger on the right hand side there. Also on the left hand side, down in that little cubby hole, there is a USB charging point, so you can put your phone in there. I've got an iPhone 13 Pro. It fits in there, but I don't think it would fit in with the charging cable connected. So just something to be mindful of. I did mention earlier I was in sport mode. This bike does have 4 different modes. We got sport, touring, enduro and urban, and each one of those does change, obviously, different parameters on the bike. But what's nice to see is when you put into enduro, it drops the power from 170 to 115 brake horsepower. So something that's needed when doing enduro and off-road. Me personally, I put my bike into rain mode just to really dull down and kind of make that throttle nice and gentle. You don't want a harsh, aggressive throttle when you're off-road. Along with those rider modes, we've also got different power modes. We've got cornering ABS. We've got Ducati wheelie control. There is a plethora of electronics inside this bike. Looking at pricing then for this bike, for the standard V4 Rally, you're looking at about £23,500. For this, the V4 Radar Rally, you're looking at about 23,756. I'll put the exact numbers on the screen, and that is for the red one only, because there are 2 different color options: Ducati red or your kind of matte black brushed aluminium finish, which I think looks bloody delightful. For the matte black, that's going to set you back around 24,236, something random like that. So there is a slight increase in price between the matte and the Ducati red. It's up to you. If I was getting a Panigale or a Street Fighter, yeah, I'd probably get a Ducati red. However, this bike looks awesome in the matte black with the brushed aluminium. So, you know, each to their own. Hey, 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 caramba! That's a worm. Oh. Exhaust sounds a little bit lacking. Problem with Ducatis is their exhausts are ridiculously expensive. Go on, just keep going. You got it. I like this screen. It's got a little dip in the middle, so even in the highest position it doesn't get into your eye line when you start getting into the twisties. I like the fact it's one finger action, up and down. Now I must say, just like my BMW GSA, this thing handles really well for the size of it. It's 260 kilos, and that's helped out by having this 30-litre tank, which you're going to be getting around 300 miles to a tank. But the way Ducati have set this thing up is it handles so nice, you can barely tell that it has that weight on it. And that's what you want on something that's big, heavy and designed for touring. You don't want to know it. You don't want to be struggling to lift it up, struggling to do slow speed manoeuvring every time you come into a car park or a red light, hanging out. Like any potholes or stones or anything like that, it just bam, so nice. The brakes are really nice and sharp on this. We've got twin 330 at the front and I believe a single 256 at the rear. Brembo M50 Stylema monoblock calipers. I mean, if there's any bike that's going to stop on time, this is it. The brakes aren't sharp though, they're really nice, progressive. I must say, me personally, I do like sharp brakes kind of as soon as I'm on them, but the way these build into the power, it's actually really nice. Probably one of the first bikes that doesn't have sharp brakes but very progressive that I've really enjoyed. Okay, so it looks like they've resurfaced this road, which is annoying because this is a really nice twisty section. We'll give it a go, see how it handles, but I don't fancy dropping this. Nice wide handlebar, really comfortable to sit on, and it just flicks. Oi, oi, oi. Honestly, right now I couldn't tell you which one I'd pick between this and your V4, V4S. This also has electronic suspension. It's got your 50mm sky hook, electronic suspension at the front. Back into the re-gravelled. No, this is ruining the road. I know in a few weeks this will all be settled and there won't be any loose gravel crap on it, but right now I'm not happy. For a V4 there's very little vibrations through this and just a nice humming through your backside, if you know what I mean. I'm 115 kilos and like I said, with this electronic suspension it's just soaking up this back road. Let's put it into what should we go for? Should we touring? And even in touring mode it definitely still feels like a little bit lively. I'm 6'1" and I've got a really nice kind of relaxed, comfortable riding position. Pegs are kind of in front of my hips but behind my knees, so there's not a strain on my knees. Nice wide handlebars, really comfortable kind of distance from my chest. For me, this being a rally, it's kind of at the lowest point I'd want the handlebars. It would work off-road, but I'd have to think about maybe getting some bar risers if I was to be doing more off-road stuff. Just a little bit though, nothing too aggressive. The turning circle on this is really tight. Clutch pull super light, easy to do, easy to use. Not going to get too tired if you start doing off-road and you're doing a lot of clutch control for the slow speed stuff. I can tell why I named the Ducati Multistrada V4S as my best bike for 23. This bike just mirrors that bike, obviously, because it's pretty much the same one, but with a bigger tank and different wheels, as in this has got spoked wheels, ready for a little bit more off-roading than obviously your standard wheels. What's cool to see on this Multistrada Rally is that below 4,000 RPM, Ducati shut off 2 cylinders, so it's just running on the 2, and then above 4,000 all 4 cylinders work. Same as when I was on the Dabble, that would shut off the rear 2 cylinders just to keep your derriere a little bit cooler. And then say above 4,000 all 4 kick in. With this you can barely tell any difference between below 4,000 and above 4,000. I'd love to do some touring on this bike. That's how easy to ride and comfortable it is, and the engine is something to keep you you excited and you entertained. That's what I like out of a bike, something that take the bags off and I can throw this around some of these back roads, or put some bags on and you can go and do some serious touring on it. I tell you what, let's go find somewhere to pull over, we'll have a little walk around, and you let me know what you think of this bike. So here we are then, with the Ducati Multistrada Rally V4. Ducati red, looks nice, you know, traditional red, but for me it is going to be the matte black with the brushed aluminium look to it. I think it looks premium. Cross-spoked wheels, ready for a bit of off-road. We do have the Pirelli Scorpion Trail 2 tyres on. So far, absolutely no dramas off-road with them. Off-road, I mean, I've come down a little dirt track, but no dramas on-road. I'd have to probably test this off some green lanes to see how good they are, but you let me know in the comments box below, how good are these tyres off-road for this bike. Another nice feature to see is this bike doesn't only have the side stand, it's also got a centre stand, so you can do any maintenance on the road if need be. Another nice design feature by Ducati is the mounting system for the side bags, the pannier bags, is already kind of on the bike, on the frame, so there's no extra framework that needs to be added on to have panniers on this bike. Front left hand side, like I said, there's a little cubby hole, button on the inside, push it and it opens up. Big enough for the iPhone 13 Pro, but I don't think big enough to charge it at the same time, but it is nice to see that there is a charger, so if need be, so if I had a smaller phone, I could charge it. We do have the nice winglets left and right of the kind of tank engine area, just to force any hot air away from the rider. Ducati know they have some hot bikes, and it's nice to see that they are trying to do something to kind of alleviate some of that heat on the rider. It's 20-25 degrees today. I've had no issues with the heat, so nice to see. It works. This exhaust is actually really pretty thin. Normally you get quite big, beefy, chunky exhausts. It's thin, it doesn't look the best, and it doesn't sound the best. Me personally, if I did get this bike, I'd be looking at some form of aftermarket exhaust. Obviously with this bike being touring orientated, the passenger seat is actually just as wide, or if not wider, than the rider's seat at the widest point as well. So something Zoe complains about. She moaned about the GSA passenger seat not being very comfortable. So it's big, whether it's comfortable, that still is yet to be decided. It's getting too hot to be stood around looking at this bike. Let's get back out on the road. There we go then, back on the old girl. Remember, I'm 6'1", this has a seat height of 870 to 890 mil, it is adjustable. I'm on kind of the balls of my feet, so it's comfortable, it's okay. It's just something to be mindful if you are the shorter rider, you have to look at different seat options. Let's do it then, let's get out of here. Found this on the last Multistrada, it's my calf, hits the frame and there's the battery charger cable hanging out. Oh, it's getting warm, 28 degrees now, starting to sweat out. Well, I think I've covered everything that this bike has to offer, and if you haven't worked it out yet, I think this is a fantastic bike. If money's no object, or you can definitely afford this kind of bike price point, this is something seriously to consider. Could I tell you which one to go between your standard Multistrada V4 over the Rally? No, that is going to be purely down to preference, like the GS and the GSA. Do you need the bigger fuel tank? Do you need 200 miles or do you need 300 miles to a tank? If you're in the UK, pretty much never going to be anywhere where there's not going to be a fuel station for that 100 miles. Are you going off-road? Are you doing purely road? If you're doing purely road, I wouldn't worry about the Rally. I'd save a couple of quid and just get the V4. But then if you do want an all-rounder where you can do touring, you can take the bags off and you can smash around some of the back roads, you can do green laning, and you can afford to drop it and fix it, then this is surely on your list of test rides. It will be interesting to see BMW are dropping their GS 1300, how that compares to this. Like I said, this and the V4, the Multistrada, is now the best bike. These two are the best bikes for 23. I mean, they're so close. It kind of depends if you want to do just road or road and a bit of off-road. So will the GS 1300s be able to compete with this bike? And I think there's nothing else for me to cover off. The only other thing to say is, if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you like it. More importantly, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see plenty more riding reviews coming, we have got riding reviews coming out weekly, so make sure you stick around to see them. There's nothing else to say, but until the next one, ride safe.